We're going to be looking at more prints today, as well as some coral pinks in this third out of 4 blog posts and videos looking at the differences between the soft, true, and dark autumn. When I choose these prints, I think about if this walked into a meeting, a party, would I notice it for being really beautiful? Would I mention to someone else afterwards, did you see that beautiful blouse or print that person was wearing? In the last video, I also thought about what does it mean when something is beautiful? What does it take to be beautiful? And so many of my comparisons keep coming back to the natural world. So I'm going to think about why that is today, as well as what does purpose have to do with all of this? How closely related are form and function to make something be beautiful? I also love prints because I learned so much about what the various colors in the 12 different seasons palettes look like in real life. Sometimes it's very hard to go from a ink on canvas swatch to how this color would look in the real world, and having the interaction of other colors around it like you do in a print really helps you understand what the color would look like, what would it belong with, when is it enough, when is it not enough or too much, and how much you would dial it up and down so that you got a better sense of what you're shopping for. So we'll talk today a little bit about how I put prints in a season, because there's no rule that says that every color in a print belongs in one season, and it doesn't need to. And then I like to test myself. Sometimes I find a print and I think, well, this is nice. I actually do like this. I would notice this if it walked into a room. But some of it breaks the rules a little bit. And what do I think about that? What decision would I make if I were in a store? And then we'll circle back to, is wearing your own colors enough? Is it boring? Is it redundant? We have certain colors that when you look at people can be variations on brown, beige, gray, and their eyes. How do you make a wardrobe out of that? And is it boring to wear your own colors with your own colors? Wouldn't it be better if you changed things up a little bit? So we're going to talk about those things in today's video. Hi, I'm Christine. The first thing that we're going to talk about is which season is a print. How do you put a print in a season? This is a kind of a process, and rather than cut it really short to fit into a video, what I'd like to do is just tell you my first 2 or 3 steps, and then I'll put the rest of them in the blog post. The blog post is linked in the description box. The picture that we're going to look at today is also linked in the description box as well as in the blog post, and it's at your style. So if you want to go there for shopping information, availability, also to enlarge some of these images so you can look at the print a little bit better than you can on this screen, that is the place to go. So here's the picture we're going to be looking at today. As you can see, I have put the seasons in rows rather than columns because our screens that we're looking at are usually in landscape mode, not always if you're looking at this on a phone, but usually in landscape mode, and then I can show you more things, I can space them out more. So when you look at the 3 lines, maybe you can see that the top one is softer, the color pigment is not as intense, not as concentrated, and maybe you find that that row looks a little bit faded. Maybe you find that the items on the bottom look a little bit dark or heavy in some way. Remember, when you look at anything, that your eyes decide what they see color-wise by comparing whatever you're wearing or whatever you're looking at. So the top row to the middle row, your hair to your skin tone, your blush to your eye color, your blush to your lipstick color. Whatever your eye thinks, it's going to make a decision by comparing A to B. The other rule, and this is just how human vision works, everybody's eyes are this way, is when 2 colors are next to one another, they're going to change one another a little bit. So as a interesting thing to try, bring up your hand or a piece of cardboard, whatever it may be. Maybe a neutral color, gray or the color of your laptop kind of, and cover the bottom 2 rows. But when you do it, look at that top row, the soft autumn row of clothes. Do you feel that when you cover the middle and the bottom row, all of a sudden the soft autumn row, the top row, becomes a little more vibrant? It gains a little energy. It might seem to get a little bigger. It might seem to come a little bit closer to you. That's exactly what happens when people wear their own colors. So if the true autumn person, middle row, wears those soft autumn colors, same thing's going to happen as happens on your screen. The clothing, the soft autumn clothes that the true autumn is wearing are going to look low energy, faded, not enough to support or enhance the person. And remember, when you're looking at this, you're looking at colors on a white background. But that's not how we see clothing. We see clothing on a person. So if the soft autumn person, who has exactly those colors, wears those clothes, the effect is kind of synergistic. It becomes this 1 + 1 = 3, where all these colors are talking to one another. Nothing is talking too loud and nothing is talking too quietly to be heard. They're all speaking the same language. You're not trying to tell a story with, words from all different languages, because it doesn't mean anything. So the closer you can come to wearing your own colors, the more meaning and the more beauty and the more definition and the more belonging you can get from your clothing investments. Next section is going to be about how do I put a print in a season. So the first thing that I do is I decide, do I want to spend the time doing this? Do I find this beautiful enough to be worth the effort? Or is there obviously something that tells me that this is just going to be that story made up of 6 different languages? The colors make no sense together. There's something that's always pulling my attention. I feel myself processing. Why would they add that? What's that doing there? What am I supposed to understand from that yellow stripe? Why would anybody have this really strong red and this really soft blue in the same print? I don't recognize this as anything. I don't understand what I'm looking at or what I'm supposed to think. So that's the first thing, is do I want to spend the time looking at this print? The second thing that I do is I work from the most prominent color. Usually black or white, particularly if they're in big areas, or sometimes the brightest print. Which color are the other colors organizing themselves around, or which one does my awareness keep coming back to? But you can break the rules here. Bright Spring, for example, I think looks terrific when there are little bits of white and black in the print. Kind of makes it a little bit more crisp. Although I would not want to see a big area of it, and certainly not near the person's face. It does kind of work with the colors in an interesting way. In our picture today, the 4th item, so way over on the right in the true autumn row, you can see a blouse there made out of mustard and other earthy types of colors. Then there are these little bits of white. Well, now different people have different opinions about that, but I didn't mind that. If that walked into a meeting, I would think, okay, not sure what I'm supposed to think, but it's kind of interesting. It's not a big area of white. It's not near the face. This woman doesn't have to change the rest of her outfit or her makeup. Now, if those little bits of white were, let's say, silver, I would be distracted. I wouldn't know, why would you put silver there? What's that supposed to be? That's the Christmas ornament hanging in the September cornfield. It would be too odd for me to understand. So the next decision. The next step would be, if 90% of the print fits into a certain season, are the other colors congruent enough? So if we look at the second item over, I have test items all through here, but I'll talk about them all in the blog post. I'll go through every item. If the second item in the soft autumn row walked in, would I think that was nice? I think, yeah, she could make a lot of outfits with that. It works with her eye colors. It's a good neutral. It wouldn't be too much. It's kind of a nice print, you know, I kind of like it. But then we got that pale pastel pink. What am I going to think about that? What I would think is this person has summer in them. You can tell more obviously, look at some soft autumns than others. So of course, what clothing you buy depends on exactly what your individual coloring in the season is. But for many women, they have enough summer in them, either in softness or in some color in the natural appearance that's kind of cool, to know what to do with pastel pink. There's a context for it. Now, if it were tropical orange or citrus lime, there'd be an issue, right? They would not know what to do with that. It would jump off of the blouse and it would jump off of them, be the only thing anyone could see. But in this context, I don't mind it at all. So that's the beginning of my process, because I got all these steps that I go through because I like this. I like to do this. And I'll tell you about my process in the blog post. In the last video, we talked a little bit about what is it that makes something beautiful. And I tend to come back to nature as my benchmark. It's not the only yardstick that I use, but it's one that I trust because I'm not sure I always trust myself. So it helps me to decide, would this be something you could see in the natural world? Does this look believable? Does it look relatable? Does it look like it would exist on planet Earth? Well, so then I thought, well, why do I do that? What is it about nature that makes me come back to it? The first thing is that nature solved timelessness. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. The other one is that we evolved to find meaning in natural designs. So I said the beauty has a plan. It's not random. You can't just throw anything together and think that it's beautiful. There is a plan. There's a plan of colors. There's a plan of shapes. This is how your colors are put together. They are not random. They are very, very much connected and related. And the name of the plan is harmony. Harmony of colors, harmony of shapes. When parts are harmonious, they can form relationships. They can connect. They can interact with one another like words on a page. And humans find meaning in those connections because we evolved to. Nature was here before us, and we evolved to understand what we see based on that information. So I do think people are beautiful. All people are beautiful in the way that nature colored them. All color groupings that humans put together are not, because we are pushing nature out of place. Natural designs, they feel right. We can look at them and feel calm. There's never a feeling of, you're holding your breath. You can relax and you can just look around, but the eyes aren't, doing this sort of thing. Because I watch people's eyes, people say, and where their eyes go can be quite different. So when people look at us, I think we want them to feel that same calm, that same rightness, without a distracted attention. They're just happy to look in your eyes, listen to your words. They are aware of the surrounding colors and they make sense together, so their attention's not being pulled away or out of the story, out of the experience. They know where your facial landmarks are. They are clear on what you're trying to say. They're having an integrated experience. So you can try this. Look at my eyes. Pretend I'm someone across a meeting table from you. You're meeting me for the first time. Look in my eyes. Now keep looking in my eyes, but widen your awareness to the rest of me. Am I wearing earrings? Is there any feeling that your eyes keep jumping back to something and it's bugging you? Is there any feeling that there's a part that seems weak, fading, tired, not enough? So look in my eyes, keep looking at my eyes. If ever you come for a training course here, we're going to do this a lot. Can you see my chin without taking your eyes off my eyes? Does my hair look reasonable with my skin tone? The reason we do this is because as a color analyst or as anybody else, you can make decisions only based on data or charts. But you need some context because data and charts can only get you so far. It's like thinking the weather is satellite pictures. It can only get you so far, but it's not the real life experience, and it's not the way people extract what they think of us based on how we look, what we chose to wear that morning. So you got to gather data and then put it into a context. Bring in your values, whatever they may be, depending on where you live, how you want to look, to understand how to mold the data, have the context and data work together to come up with a decision. Let's talk about purpose or function. Nature doesn't go out of date. Nature has figured out the ultimate in timeless design and has had billions of years to understand and sort out how things have to look for how things have to work. You don't see an excess of detail, description, information, because that's wasteful of resources. Nature's the ultimate conservationist. You know, when you see those clothes and you think, why didn't they just stop before they added the ruffle? Why didn't they stop before they did this or that? And you don't see a lack of detail or description because the item wouldn't serve its purpose. And so it would have to either evolve or not be preserved. And the analogy there is that very often timelessness of design is related to minimalism, simplicity, classic tailoring, but that's not it. Those are dependent entirely on the function, and also in humans, what is the body type that you're going to put these clothes on? You can't just call it classic tailoring and think that a classic suit from the 1950s is going to look great on every woman. Well, my clothes have to work as clothes, and they got to do that for a long time if I'm going to have money leave my bank account to own them. And so I like natural designs because that's what nature's done. She makes it beautiful and she makes it work for a long, long time. Because wearing sculptures, it's like recipes for dishes you can't eat. It's like beautiful fonts that you can't read. It's like a rug that you can't walk on. A dress you can't eat or breathe in. Shoes you need help to walk in. Might be beautiful as something, but not clothing. A house that's an architectural marvel. You can't really live there, depending, I guess, on how you want to live. So I relate back to nature because she has had centuries to relate form with function in a way that humans learned was relatable, that we could understand the meaning of and derive purpose from. Is wearing our own colors enough? Is it boring somehow? Is it redundant? I mean, we are certain colors and then we wear certain colors, and do they overlap and cancel each other out? No, it's actually the opposite. They make each other look better. But I can see why you might think that, because when you look at people, we don't look that colorful. We have grayish beige and then brown and different shades of brown, and then we might have black and maybe some yellow, and then we get the eye color. But how are you going to make a closet out of this? Well, I guarantee you've got a version of every color, and they are in perfect harmony, but you have to extract this information. And as we said before, you've got to compare it to certain colors. And you do it in a stepwise sequence because there can be a lot of information coming at you if you're comparing too many colors to the thousands that are here. So you go with the thousands here and one at a time down below. At least that's how I do it. Then color analysts are trained to extract certain data, put it into a given context, and then come out with a color harmony, the color harmony that belongs to you, that is in you already right now, that you can use to make great purchases. But we love to add stuff, eh? How about some eyelashes? Maybe a purse or a sweater in that lime green that everybody's wearing. Is there a nude lip that everybody's going to wear that's just going to look great on them? Enough means different things on different colorings and on different body types. We're all familiar with the idea that a sign of a beginner is too much, not knowing when to stop, too much detail, too much description, to the point where you can't even follow the story. We've seen that blouse where we thought, if they could just have not added that ruffle. Why did they put orange? This would have been a great print if they didn't feel the need to put orange in there. Too innovative, too many bells and whistles. That also takes you out of the story. So confidence, calm, these come across in different ways depending on body type and depending on coloring. But it's not all about monochromatic color schemes. It's not all about any particular color scheme any more than it is classic tailoring. That 50s suit that is said to be classic, the form didn't serve the function, the purpose as beautiful clothing, what I want my clothes to do, on every body type then, and it doesn't do so now. So it does relate to who you are, but this is easy information to have and to use. Too simplified, that is like a story made out of bullet points. It's dry. It's a very colorful person, let's say a spring. They've got aqua eyes and they have strawberry blonde hair or all kinds of colors that are very evident on the surface. And then they're dressed head to toe in neutrals or in gray. For me, you're not wearing colors the way that you are presented in the world. And so there's this disconnect, even if they're exactly right in your season. What I'm saying is that the idea of enough, of timeless, of classic means different things on different people. You got to get information about who you are so that your appearance can say what you mean, so that you can show the world who you are, not less, not more. And trust that a true picture of who you are is something other people want to see, and they will understand what it means. I love fashion. I think it's exciting. I love the vision and the imagination. I love seeing the world through other people's eyes and seeing the ideas that humans can come up with. One thing I don't always love about it is the voice with which it speaks to us. And it's an industry. They got a bottom line. And I think that it is the consumer's responsibility to have enough information about themselves to understand how to make their best choices, whatever it is they buy. You know how cats don't love dogs, but they like their dog. I don't love food, but I like my food. I don't love travel, but I love airports. I set up long connections so I can just spend time in airports. But shopping, I don't discriminate. I love shopping. I'll look at blouses. I'll look at ride-on lawnmowers. I'm very happy to do that. I learn things. I find it all really interesting. Not sure why I had to tell you that. I guess just to say that whatever it is, the questions are, what's it do? Is this going to be beautiful on me? Is it going to do what it says it's going to do, which is look good and wear well? Is it going to be able to do this for a long time? That's what I want to know before I decide to buy something. In the blog post, again, links in the description box along with our picture for today, the clothing for today. We'll talk a little more about each one of these blouses, how to put them into seasons, and my test items and what decision I made about them. And I think that's it. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time for the final installment, which will be part 4. Bye-bye.